If the first game breaks, no get you know it up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. Ball, obstacles, block, cut, side, do the game, tap, this win it. First shit again, we're here for the first minute. Carry everybody, keep it there for 6 minutes.
Just look around. You got the mountains, you got the most beautiful city in the whole entire country. The university is absolutely, looks like it's out of a storybook. It's just beautiful. People are incredibly genuine and extremely nice. It's just a place that obviously I'd want my kids to go to school. And it sells itself. You don't have to sell anything about this place. You just got to get them here. You know, the old field of dreams. Yeah. Build it and they will come. It's already built.
We've got to raise the bar, and we've got to continue to raise the bar. I don't think any of those young men, when they signed to come to Tennessee, they signed to say they wanted to come and be a part of a 7-6 program. All right, they said they wanted to come and compete for championships, SEC championships, national championships. I know that's what I want. I know that's what Tennessee wants. I know that's what the expectation is. So we've got to continue to reassess everything that we're doing and make sure that we're continuing to move the needle in the right direction.
Unbelievable place. Great university. Knoxville is unbelievable city, great people. The passion for football is even greater than I thought it would be. And man, you know, Neyland Stadium, I said it, you know, a couple of years ago, and I still think it's the best football experience for a college football fan or a player in the country.
Doesn't have to be perfect, ain't gonna be perfect. We go compete for 60 freaking minutes. All right, enjoy the opportunity, enjoy the environment, and then go play our butts off, play for one another, and have a hell of a lot of fun. Everybody got me? Yes, all right.
I was driving down the highway on an August Friday night. Everything was going great, I was feeling fine, till I looked into my rear view. Caught me by surprise, it was Barney and his partner. They're flashing their blue lights. Now I'm sitting in the pen, and I'm staring at the floor. They done took my freedom, I can't walk around no more. And I said goodbye to the honky-tonks and my social good time, all because I blew a .09. Well, cop turned me around, he said, I'm taking you to jail. Do you have someone in mind that could come pay your bill? I said, no sir, most of my friends are pretty damn broke. Then he slapped those cuffs up on me and Barney slammed the door. Now I'm sitting in the pen and I'm staring at the floor. They done took my freedom, I can't walk around no more. And I said goodbye to the honky-tonks, my social good time, all because I blew .09.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. This is Talkin VAWLS Live. Got a fun show for you. Ready to jump into it, man. The bye week's over. Time to talk a little football. We're going to do that tonight. X, how you feeling, buddy? Is your confidence there? I feel like everybody in the chat, it's either no confidence at all or Vols by 50. How you feeling going into this one?
Hey, it's game week, baby. Like I say, let's get it. Speaking of balls by 50, I do have a pretty close score prediction to that. Not exactly, but close to it. But nah,
by 50? By
no,
50
no,
or
no,
Vols
close
50? Vols 50.
No, close to 50. Close to 50. But like I said, we'll get into it pretty soon. But nah, baby, it's game week. Let's get it.
Don't bury the lead. We'll see what X has coming up at the end of the show for his official prediction. Dustin, you told me you needed a nickname. You went with the best fried fish in the country, Captain D. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, man. Well, that's also my nickname at work. I'm the bell captain at a hotel here, so I'm in charge of the bellman team. So I figured I would go with that. I think I told you my nickname in high school, and I was like, that might be crossing the line a little bit. So
I laughed.
We're going with Captain D for now.
What about you, Dauber? How you feeling today, buddy? Long time no see. The bye week has come and gone. Are you fired up, or are you just? I feel like we're having to build this fan base back up. I feel like they get down in the dumps, and we got to say, let's come along. There's still a lot to play for.
I'm ready to get back to football, man. That bye week is tough. It's almost worse than waiting for the season to start because you've been playing, you got some momentum. You come off of a really good performance, probably the best performance of the year against South Carolina, and then you're off for a week. And that's it's a good thing. You can get some guys that are banged up, healed up. I think a huge positive for me is that's another 7 days for Cooper Mays to get better, and I think that's going to be critical for Saturday afternoon into the evening for that game to go well for the Big Orange. Having him there, I think against South Carolina, the running game was really good, but the offensive line play. I don't know that the offense played faster, but I think they played more efficient. And I think that was solely due to Cooper being out there, getting the calls in, getting the blocking called out. And, man, I'm looking forward to the offense clicking at their maximum capabilities and capacity because we've still not seen that this year.
Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out tonight. We're going to get into it. We're going to break down this game. Dakota's in the house, says, let's go. Been waiting all day for this. Dakota, I feel like we just spoke to each other about 12 hours ago. Maybe I'm wrong. Chase is in the house. What's up, brother? Dropping those custom Talking Balls emojis. Appreciate that. James Bowers is here, says, good evening, Boogie and the gang. That could be our band name. But would that be selfish of me if I said I'm the lead singer? You don't want me to sing. I almost sang last night on the NCAA stream. Decided against it. Forever grateful that I made that decision last night. Fish and Beans is here. Says, howdy, GBO. What's up, brother? Wade's in the house. What's up, Wade? Matt is here. Isaac Owens is in the house as well, guys. Come on in. Smash the thumbs up. You know the deal by now. Smash the thumbs up because that doesn't take any time, and it helps the channel. We would appreciate it. Also, you can hit that share button down below. Put this thing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, Snap. Is that what the kids do these days? They're talking about snaps and twists, and I have no idea how any of that stuff works, but let somebody know we're live. We would appreciate it. Got some super chats right out of the gate. Joey Carroll for 5, reminding you, Joey is paying us to say smash the thumbs up and pay the door fee. Don't sneak in. Got 151 people in the chat. Joey's the only one that bought his way in here. We appreciate that, brother. Trey for 5, door fee. Let's go Big Orange. Membership drive initiated starting tomorrow, boys and girls. Trey has taken it to the streets. He's the Talkin VAWLS street team. He's printing T-shirts to recruit people to become a part of the Talkin VAWLS family. I love it. That is the definition of a cult. One of us. Go serve the Kool-Aid, Trey. Get them in here. Appreciate what you're doing for us, brother. Papa J for 5. Let's start the rest of our season kicking some butt. GBO. Adam's been a member for 13 months. Robert has been supporting this channel for 16 months. We appreciate you guys. If you want to join the channel, hit that join button down below. It's $1. That's it. $1 is all you got to pay. Custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, access to the fan call-in shows, all that good stuff. But let's talk some football. Don't feel like you ever have to donate to this channel. It's all about a community and hanging out. You don't have to do that. Let's talk some football. Big stage coming up on Saturday. 3:30, CBS Game of the Week. Vols going to honor Eric Berry. Man, he's going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in December. He's a dude, man, that you just, when you look back on, you almost took it for granted how you knew he was special at the time. Looking back, man, something different. I went and looked at his stats just to get an idea of his exact numbers. 241 tackles, 3 sacks, of course the big one, 14 interceptions, 494 interception return yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 yards shy of the NCAA record for interception return yards. I'm not even going to put you all on the spot. There's no way you all can figure this out. Tied for 5th with Deion Grant for interceptions all time at Tennessee. Does anybody want to take a guess who the top 4 are? I'm putting you guys. There's no way I would have got this right. Anybody know? Any clue?
Is Brian Randolph in there?
Let me put it this way. This will give you a tip. The top 4 guys all played prior to 1973.
Okay, no.
So nobody knows.
No.
Tim Priest with 18, Mike Jones with 16, Bill Young with 15, Conrad Graham with 15. And then two guys that we all know and are familiar with, Eric Berry and Deion Grant, 5th all-time. But I thought we could kick this thing off and talk about what a special player Eric Berry was. Dauber, do you have what's one of your Eric Berry memories that stands out?
Oh, man. Probably was it the Vanderbilt pick six that he had where he ran all over the field and I think threw a couple people. I mean, it was just he really was special back there. Had a sense for the ball.
The true definition of a ball hawk, right?
Yeah, I mean
he was a ball hawk.
That's the thing that not necessarily the interceptions though, but the pass breakups. You know, he always found himself in the right position, which is something to be desired for the secondary we have now and we've had the last few years. It's always seems to be a step late and a little bit short and slow and not turning your head around to find the ball. Let's go, come on. But man, yeah, Eric Berry was special.
Yeah, he had an uncanny sensibility to anticipate things, I think, and he would sprint to the ball before, almost before it was even thrown. He kind of knew. I think he was a smart player, kind of knew where things were going to happen before it happened in a lot of ways. And one memory that sticks out, and it's kind of on a lot of highlight films, but I remember watching it live, was when him and Tebow went head to head.
Yeah.
He could definitely lay the wood on a lot of people. So I enjoyed him. And I was trying to remember because that was kind of he was still here in the Fulmer era, right? Kind of the tail end of Fulmer era. Is that right?
He was 2007 to 2009. So that would have been.
So he's after, right?
Yeah,
after,
it would have been what? Was Kiffin 2000? Kiffin was 2006, right?
Yeah, he was there with Kiffin because all the black jersey pictures of him.
Right.
When they broke out black against South Carolina that year.
So 1 year with Kiffin, 2 years with Dooley.
Yeah.
I was just trying to
very special.
I was trying to remember what his supporting staff was at that time around him, because I know we were, so stout on defense for the longest time. And then, once those coaching changes started hitting, people started kind of leaving. But he was one that stuck out and will be a legend for forever.
A fun thought is that could you just imagine Eric Berry on this defense, on this team this year?
Yeah,
That's a game changer.
I'd love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody made the comment, we've had the same safety for 9 years.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Trey Tyndall for 5 says, love seeing his pick 6 on Tebow at Florida. Highlight of that game. X, any specific memories that stand out? How old were you? 3 when Eric Berry played at Tennessee?
I probably was, I don't know, probably like 8 maybe. I said 5. Something like that. But I can't do math, so why would you even ask me that?
I like to put you on the spot.
But me back in high school, like I say, me and my close friend, like I said, because we kind of saw highlights of Eric Berry and stuff like that, and dude was just a beast, man. Like the Tebow one was a highlight that I seen, but yeah, just overall, man, he was just a very, very special player. Like I said, would love to have him, this defense today, but. All
right, it's driving me nuts. I had to go look because people in the chat. Lane Kiffin was 2009. Kiffin was 2009. So Eric Berry played 2007 through 2009. So he played for Philip. He played a couple of years under Philip Fulmer, and then 1 year under Lane Kiffin. I think when I think of Fulmer, I always think back to 2005 because that was the worst season of all time. So that's the year I always go back to. It's crazy to think, man, that it was several years later where he was actually fired. I've told the story on here before. For me with Eric Berry, Snake and I were at the game when the interception return yardage record was broken, and then they ended up announcing, like, we thought he broke the record. The stadium's going crazy. I see people in the chat talking about the Eric Berry chant. It happened every game, and we thought he broke the record. And later in the game, they announced he did not break the record. It was ruled a fumble, not an interception. So we thought we witnessed history, and then they brought it back, and it was actually a fumble return, I think is what happened. Michael Davis, I appreciate the super chat, brother. GBO, going to be a good one on Saturday. We're going to get into it. We're going to break it down coming up here in just a second. Aiden Stills becomes a member of the channel. Appreciate that. Let's get those memberships rolling, guys. Hit that join button down below. There's also a link pinned at the top of the chat. We would appreciate that support. Rocky Top Tom for 5. Late door fee. I got here just in time to vomit when I heard the name of Monty Kiffin spawn. Eric Berry's name alone clears the air. Wow. Oh, Rocky Top Tom bringing the heat. Eddie Coffee for 2. Aggies at Vols. Big game for both teams. GBO. I guess let's start there because that's kind of the headline here. The headline is this a must-win game. Look, there's pressure on both teams. Both teams, Jimbo Fisher, I talked about this earlier today. He always does less with more. 43 and 23 in his time at Texas A&M, even though he reels in top class after top class after top class, coming off of a 5-7 season. You lose to Tennessee, Texas A&M's 4-3, and they've got a pretty tough road ahead of them. You got to play South Carolina on the road against Ole Miss. You got Mississippi State, and you got to go on the road and play LSU. Now we can turn the tables and talk about Tennessee, and people will misquote this and take it the wrong way. Their goals are still intact. Your goal is to go win the SEC East and go to Atlanta. That's still intact. All you got to do is take care of business. Now, would anybody on this panel like to bet money that Tennessee's going to Atlanta? Probably not. But that goal is still intact, Dauber. It's must win. Every game for Tennessee. When you drop an early one like they did to Florida, every game becomes must win in order to keep those goals intact.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last time we talked, the Wednesday before South Carolina, since I was at the game, I said the South Carolina game, it's a tougher game because you dropped the one to Florida. Looking at my schedule and what I had as wins and losses, you're already chasing one now because I had that Florida game as a win. And listen, they went down to Gainesville. They laid an egg. You hope they learned from it. You've seen progressively this team play better week to week as the season's going on. They've seemed to kind of learn and grow. You're getting some guys back. I talked about Cooper Mays earlier. I think that's going to solidify the offensive line, which is going to be needed. That's a big thing with A&M is their defensive line, their linebackers. I think it's James. The one linebacker has like 21 solo tackles, 6 sacks. I know in the green room we were talking about sacks and all of that before, and A&M having more, but they've played an extra game. All this and that. At the end of the day, it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. And it is. I don't think it's as must win for Tennessee as it is for Texas A&M and for Jimbo Fisher. You look at all the heat that he took last year, having that top ranked recruiting class, spending all that money on NIL, and then laying a big turd. Just coming out and not really amounting to much. And they talk about that big buyout. Well, a lot of people down College Station are not so much worried about the money in the buyout. They want results. So I think it's one of those things. Jimbo drops this game and struggles. That temperature on that hot seat is definitely turning up for him. But like you said, I think Tennessee still has goals intact, still has things to play for. And I trust this staff. I trust this staff to have a business-like approach to it that we've seen. Going back to last year, going to the Orange Bowl, it wasn't a trip. Hey, let's go down to the beach. Let's go to Miami. Let's have fun. They went down there and they played football. They did what they had to do. And I think this team, after dropping the game earlier in the season to Florida, I think they've kind of reevaluated, checked back in. And I think they've got business to take care of. So I think moving forward, you're going to see some more focused concentration. And I think everything you've heard from the coaching staff, it starts with them, and it rolls downhill. So I'm happy to see all that, but you've still got to prove it on the field.
Let's go back to Jimbo Fisher, Dustin. I want to talk about, again, 5-7 a year ago. They lose to Tennessee. They're 4-3. So let's take – they would have 5 games remaining on the schedule if I can do math Now I'm on the
Don't-
spot.
don't get
What's
X to
7
help you.
plus 5? Is that 12? That's 12.
That's
So they would
12.
be 4-3 on the year. They play Abilene Christian School of the Blind in there somewhere. But let's take the 4 games that they can be challenged. It's South Carolina, Ole Miss on the road, Mississippi State, LSU on the road. Let's say they split that. Let's say they go 2-2, and you finish. I guess you would 7-5 on the year because of the Abilene Christian game. You go 5-7, then you go 7-5. Dauber's talking about buyouts. Like, is Jimbo Fisher really on the hot seat? Do you think that – and I said this for my appearance on Locked On Vols coming up on Friday. It's real easy to write that check when you're not the one that has to have the funds in the bank for that buyout. Like, is Jimbo really on the hot seat, you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know much about their fan base. I mean, I'm assuming that, it's Texas, it's big football money. Mediocrity is not going to last very long. That's for sure. But on the other hand, look at us. How many times did we, hang on to coaches longer than we should have, and it bit us in the ass multiple times. A lot of that was administration and old school mentality, blah, blah, blah. But I think if he goes 7-5, 8-4, he's probably okay. I would say if the bottom falls off and it's any less than those two numbers, then yeah, I mean he's going to be under the gauntlet. But I think this game is going to be very important to them. But I think at the same time it's a lot about us too, and it's our house. We really have to seize the day on these home games because records show we haven't played very well on the road, with the exception of Kentucky here and there, Missouri here and there. But outside of that, we've struggled on the road, not just this year, but so far under the Heupel era. So we really got to capitalize on our home game. So, like Dauber said, that's my biggest thing. Do you come out refreshed and not sluggish, or are you kind of sleepwalking through the first couple of series, or do you come out aggressive? Because we've seen that both on both sides of the ball. When the offense and the defense is playing aggressive and confident, it's a night and day different team. But if they're coming out like they did in South Carolina last year or Florida this year, it can get ugly real quick. And so that's one of my biggest takeaways from the jump is what their mentality is. We've seen how teams, I know it's not an extreme break like they've got in between bowl games, but I always kind of think about that. Like, how are you going to be when you come back out? If you had that nice little rest, you would think they'd be refreshed, but sometimes it might take them a little bit of time to get warmed up.
Yeah, there is such thing as being too relaxed. You know what I'm saying? And you come out and you're just all sluggish, slow. We're just hoping it's not like the Austin Peay game. Don't just come out and just lay it, which I really think that this coaching staff and these players are not going to come out thinking this is Austin Peay. No, this is Texas A&M. Let's say they're coming to home field, you got to defend home field. But now, Dustin, like you said, that's kind of my question too. Coming off this bye week, I'm just like, is this team, are they really going to come out to play, or are they just going to come out just flat, kind of just don't know what to do? But I trust this coaching staff, and I think Josh Heupel's got these boys dialed up.
Some people say, was it good to lose to Florida early versus last year losing to South Carolina late? Everything was shot down, whereas maybe losing to Florida. And look, we're on here talking about it. Hey, you look terrible. You look terrible against Austin Peay. And people getting mad. Oh, they won. You're not happy with a win? You're not happy with a win? Not against Austin Peay. Not like that. No. That showed me nothing going into Florida. And then you laid an egg and you got embarrassed. You got embarrassed in the swamp. You didn't just lose. You freaking got embarrassed. And I don't want to put too much into that game. We're not going to bury the lead. We'll come back and talk about that in just a little bit. But that maybe light a fire under this team, right? Light a spark under them to go out and prove something. And Dauber said at the top of the show, maybe that South Carolina game, probably, arguably their best performance to date. And then you have the bye week. And I think the bye week came at the perfect time because this team did need to get healthy. I think it is good for Cooper Mays. Some people were arguing in the fan call-in show whether, the difference between football shape and physical contact, game contact versus practice contact, whether or not that's going to be good or bad for him. I think it's good to have another week to heal and get ready coming up. But then you also look at the bye week with Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel in his career is 7-1, going back to UCF, 7-1. coming off of a bye week. That's his only loss was against Memphis. That was in the COVID season. And he had so many players that opted out that year. Like, that year was a wash. So many people used his numbers from that season to kind of say, hey, Josh Heupel's not the guy. He got worse every year. Like, so many people didn't play in that season. On the flip side of that, we're talking about being healthy. We're talking about Josh Heupel having a week to scheme and prep and get ready. Texas A&M played a game down to the wire against Alabama. That game went down to the very end. Texas A&M ultimately falls. It was a physical game. It was a violent game. I like Tennessee coming off of the bye week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was about to echo what X left off of. I think that Florida game, and X and I are in the same boat with this. As much as I hate losing to Florida, maybe this time around it's a kick in the pants that we needed to kind of get their heads on straight. And like you said, yeah, they're coming off a real physical game. I knew it would be. It's always going to be. They always seem to kind of battle each other close, no matter what the year and no matter what their records are. So I think that can work in our advantage, Dauber. And I don't know. We'll see how they come out. I think we got to have a balanced attack. I think this is the game that might be the most crucial for our downfield passing game, because if that run game gets a little stagnant, then we're going to have to rely on that even more.
Yeah, 100%. You hope the running game comes out strong. The offensive line is good. I hope Jalen Wright just goes berserk and plays out of his head, because that's going to help Joe in the end. I don't want this game to bogged down in the running game. I want the running game to be successful, because I feel like if we get behind and we're chasing points, or if like you said, if the running game isn't working, that's a recipe that I don't really like all that much. I don't want to put this game on Joe. I think Joe can do it. He has all. We've been over this and over it and over it. He's got all the talent and potential and athletic ability in the world. Can he put it together? And that's, at the top of the show in the intro, Boogie played a clip from Heupel, and he said, let's get out there and play for 60 freaking minutes. And that's what this team's got to do. They've got to put together a complete football game and play for 60 minutes. Not, 3 quarters, not, come out and play good in the first half and then, kind of fall off in the second half. They've got to wire to wire. They've got to play good, because it's going to be a tough game. Both teams have got a lot to play for. I think that you've got. Everybody wants to say Tennessee's defense is what they've got going. I think it's because the offense hasn't been up to their potential. The offense can be so much better, and I think they're going to have to play a good game against a good Texas A&M defense.
And going off what you said earlier, Dauber, as far as if Joe, like I said, if the run game is not established and it's not working successfully, this is going to be a very heavy defensive game. I feel like this game right here is going to be really defensive heavy, because we see the stats what A&M and their defense can do. You see the stats what our defense can do. And it's like what me and Boogie were talking about earlier, like Texas A&M, as far as them having the most sacks leading is 26. Tennessee is third as far as 22. So it's going to come down to a very, very heavy defensive game. And yeah, we just need Joe to just summon all the talent that he has and just will us to that victory. And yeah, and I hope that, that Jalen Wright and Jabari Smalls, Dylan Sampson, I hope they all have a field day comes to that, because yeah, we really got to establish that run game, because if we don't, it's going to be a long night in Neyland. But like I said again, we all trust this coaching staff. We all know that Josh Heupel is going to scheme up. He's going to spread those defensive guys out just a little bit to where we can make plays down the stretch. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty physical, tough game. But I think we're going to come out on top of this one.
Let me hit a couple of super chats. Let me hit a couple super chats real quick here. Wade Rouse for 5. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, they lost to Memphis, but they were the underdog and lost by 3. I like hype coming off the bye week. Vols 42, A&M 27. Vols get ready to tame the tide. Give me some of what Wade is drinking. I'm here for that, Wade. I am here. Hey, 42-27. Maybe I'll get on here and say something stupid like Tennessee's going to go down to Alabama and come away with a dub. Travis Adair, our good friend down in Arkansas, says, Boogie, I watched him in person in Dallas a few weeks ago. A&M's front seven is elite. Tennessee better have their blocking schemes in order. All right, it's time to get into because, Lord have mercy, God bless X Factor's little heart, because he comes into the back room, and I have done so much homework today. I've done so much research, and I've watched all the talking heads. I've listened to all their opinions, and they're all saying the same thing. And then X comes in the back room. He's like, that Texas A&M defensive line, brother. I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, I don't guess you talk as redneck as I do, but that's basically what you tried to say. But the bottom line is all the talking heads, and I'm going to roll off of Travis's super chat here. All the talking heads are talking about Texas A&M's defensive line. Kudos to them. I'm taking nothing away from them. They're good against the run. They're good at getting after the quarterback. They're 8th in the country. Everybody's talking about getting after the quarterback. They're 8th in the country in rushing defense. They have allowed 4 rushing plays that have gone over 20 yards all season long. Just 4. 4. That's it. Everybody wants to talk about sacks, right? Texas A&M leads the country in sacks. Well, that's because they played one more game than Tennessee. Tennessee leads the country in sacks per game. Texas A&M right behind them. Last 3 games, Texas A&M, 7 sacks, 7 sacks, 6 sacks. They're playing good football right now. Now, their secondary struggles. Can Tennessee take advantage of that? But what I'm sick of hearing, oh, can Tennessee run the football? Why would they not? They lead the SEC in rushing yards per game. Nobody's talking about this dominant Tennessee rushing attack. They're all talking about Texas A&M, and I love it. I love it. Back us into the corner, us versus the world. Tell me how great Texas A&M is. Tell me how great Jimbo Fisher is. Tell me how great that defensive line is, because we got a secret weapon, and it's a 3-headed monster in that backfield. Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson. We're going to unleash them on that front seven of Texas A&M. Some people want to say, Bookie, our offensive line's terrible. They're awful. Let me rattle off some numbers for you. Virginia, 287 rushing yards. Austin Peay, 228 rushing yards. UTSA, 303 rushing yards. South Carolina, 238 rushing yards. What's the one game, boys? The one game that we couldn't run the football. That's
Florida.
Against Florida. Ran the football for 100 yards. Anybody want to tell me who wasn't at that game other than Cooper Mace, who clearly wasn't there? Gerald Mincey wasn't there. Our offensive line is back. Our offensive line is healthy. We've questioned the depth all offseason long, and I get it. We don't have the depth. But guess what? Cooper Mace, Gerald Mincey, they're back. Why, Dustin? Why are people not talking about Tennessee's rushing attack, and can Texas A&M stop a legitimate rushing attack? Are we better at running the football than Auburn? They had 144 yards on the ground. UL Monroe, 127 yards on the ground. Disrespect.
Yeah, I get that. I think, maybe as a fan base, we're so used to those explosive plays in the passing game last year that we're, maybe not as aware of the running game, even though you see those big breakaways and we've had some success there. I still think there's probably some negativity in the fan base where you're still expecting more. It's obviously not as flashy if you're scoring a bunch of rushing touchdowns. So maybe that's a reason. I've definitely noticed a big change in that. And for this game in particular, in addition to, the passing game, I think with somebody like Sampson, and you got to work him in other ways too. I think you've got to be as creative as possible within that run game to keep that rolling, because we've had a few games already that our offensive line was supposedly going to be challenged, and obviously at Florida they were, and but then totally different mentality when we played South Carolina, because like you said, I think that the offense was a little bit more solidified and feels a little bit more gelled when that combination's on the field. So I think moving forward, as we know, this offense runs best with the running game, and so we've got to stick with it too. It can't. That's why I had in my notes is it's got to be balanced. You know what I mean? But we got to ride the rushing game as much as possible.
Dauber, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I said it earlier. I think the running game's key to take some of the pressure off of Joe. I think Joe needs to be he needs to get going and get going early. But I think overall, you look at this A&M team. They've won 4 games, but New Mexico, Louisiana Monroe, and they're both 2-3, and then a 3-2 Auburn team and a 2-4 Arkansas team.
Arkansas is terrible.
And you look at the score of that game, it's 34-22. Arkansas pushed A&M, gave them a game. It wasn't like they ran away with it. So, in the 2 losses they've had, Miami, took them to the woodshed and beat up on them pretty good. And they did play a tough game against Alabama. But what have we said all year? Alabama's not the Alabama of old. They're not. They're beatable.
Did you watch that game?
Beatable. Yeah, I watched quite a bit of it.
I wasn't impressed with either team.
I wasn't either.
No. Yeah, there's definitely some weakness there with Alabama. But, yeah. Now, like I said, yeah, as far as like what you said, but you was preaching there, like I said, preach to you. No, I'm not saying that the defensive line scares me a whole bunch, because even during that Alabama game, I was like, yeah, they're good, but they haven't faced us as a good running team. So
they're good. Don't.
Yeah,
they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. That's why I said they're good, but they haven't faced us yet. So that's why it's going to be.
One of the things we always say is you got to look at the body of work.
Mm-hmm.
They've put up good numbers, but look at what they put up good numbers against.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things. This Tennessee team, their offense hasn't played to their potential. I like the fact that we're in Knoxville. I like the fact that you're coming off that South Carolina game. It's kind of got the taste of that Florida game out of everybody's mouth. I tell you, Neyland was insane a couple Saturdays ago against South Carolina. And it is going to be every bit as rocking come this Saturday. I think A&M is what I was going to ask earlier is they're on a backup quarterback. Max Johnson is the backup quarterback. Do you guys think it's a drop-off from their QB1? Because he's actually played pretty decent. He's got good numbers through the air, and he's ran their offense pretty well. Do you think that's a positive or an indifference?
I'd say it's a positive, because you also got to think, too, they're coming to Neyland, so that crowd's going to play a big part. So it's like this. How's he going to perform in front of a big crowd like we're going to on Saturday? So that's another question, too.
Well, let's say this about Max Johnson, though. Like, he's not just some backup no-name quarterback. He's started in 15 SEC games, including road games at Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida, and others. He's played in some big-time environments.
That was my point was going to be I don't know that it's necessarily a step down. I don't think we can look at they're rolling in with their backup quarterback, and it's if we get pressure on him, we're going to rattle him. I think this kid is like you said, he's played some pretty big time SEC games. I don't know that he's necessarily going to be intimidated, but I think the crowd at Neyland, especially if we get going and we get up early, that momentum is a big thing. And you keep that crowd engaged, it'll rattle the best of them.
Well, look at Tennessee. We talk home field advantage. 12-game home winning streak at Neyland Stadium right now. And then you flip over to the other side of that, Dustin. Jimbo Fisher, they're on a 7-game losing streak in true road games. So not neutral site games, true road games, 7-game losing streak. Tennessee's not lost in Neyland since Georgia 2021. Jimbo Fisher, this is another stat. I told you guys, I watched every video imaginable on the internet. I think I watched an 8-year-old kid tell me why Texas A&M was going to beat Tennessee today. That's how many – I'm running out of videos to watch. So I'm just going to keep watching them. This was one of the interesting stats that I saw today. Jimbo Fisher – at Texas A&M is 0-9 in road games where they're the underdog. Tennessee's favored by 3.5. What do you think? Do you put much stock into that winning streak inside of Neyland? I think Neyland's going to be electric. What do you think, Dust? You put some stock in that?
Yeah, I mean, Neyland's always going to be, you know, a secret weapon in our back pocket for sure. I don't care how good we are or, you know, and with the success we had last year, it's obviously, you know, pumped things back up, and administration's done a really good job with the facilities. And so it's a fun, new experience for people, and people were just amped because the team's had some success. So that's always going to be in our back pocket. And kind of going back to what Dauber said, you know, we got to have that Spencer Rattler mentality where we can't, you know, play soft on the defensive calls, and we gotta call the game aggressively. I think it's almost proven at this point. Even if you go back to like the Clemson game, like it's a night and day difference. You know, if we go out with that mentality and they're calling some blitzes, I'm not saying we should rely on the secondary and the linebackers to do all the blitzing, because now the defensive line's getting some push. But I think just overall we have to get after the quarterback, and I expect him to be prepared for it mentally, but if we can get after him physically as well, that's going to be a huge game changer. And then one last thing I'll say, back to the running game real quick, is how healthy is Milton right now? Can he show at least the threat of a quarterback run and a read here and there? And then how do they use Dylan Sampson in some of those, you know, formations, and what does that look like in this game? I hope that they, you know, are aggressive on that side too, to use Milton's legs.
Yeah, I would say coming off this bye week, I'd say he's probably pretty ready to go, because he didn't look too bad against that South Carolina game. So with us having this bye week, I think his knee is pretty good to go. So yeah, but that's why I was saying earlier that hopefully they establish Milton a little bit into this run game, like saying have certain design quarterback runs for him that will also help us down the stretch. Because I mean, we all seen it. I mean, look, the brother got legs. Like we seen it again. You know, said that UTSA game. Brother got some legs. I just want him to just utilize that more instead of just relying on his arm. Because yes, we know he has the arm talent, but man, just whenever, like I said, when you just can't make a read downfield, man, just roll out of the pocket and just continue to make plays. And then we all go back to that embarrassing, you know, say it was the flag on the play, and he had a free play, right? And he just didn't know what to do. He stumbled, and then he kind of just slid. And I was just like, Joe, just throw it downfield, man. It doesn't matter. You have a free play. Just throw it. So hopefully that he'll kind of get better at kind of like game-like situations like that.
We're going to talk more about Joe Milton coming up here in just a second. We're going to give our official predictions. Want to do a couple of quick plugs and shills. I got 270 people watching live right now. Appreciate you guys tuning in on this Wednesday night. Help us out. Hit that thumbs up. Share this thing out. We would greatly appreciate that support. If it's your first time here, you're wondering, who are these four idiots that think that they know everything about Tennessee football? Hey, look, we're just a bunch of regular dudes. We're fans just like you. We are building a community for the fans, by the fans. I love it, man. I say it all the time. I love what this thing is becoming, because the only dude I ever met in real life prior to Talkin VAWLS was Dauber. Like, we've been friends since like elementary school. But the bigger this channel gets, the more people come on. We do a fan call-in show every Sunday night. We do a fan call-in show an hour before kickoff every Saturday. And people come on, man, and they win over the chat. And people are like, man, you got to get this dude back on. So guess what? That's how X Factor is on here every Wednesday. He's on every post-game show. Dustin is showing up more and more. Captain D is showing up more and more. We got a stretch coming up where X is going to be out of town. Matt Begley, a regular in the chat, is going to be doing a post-game show. Seth in the chat is going to be doing a post-game show. Coach Rice is becoming a regular. Coach Jay is on here probably more than I am. I think he has the key. I have to ask him to unlock the door so I can get in here and start things up. Look, we are a family. We are a community. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe. Tons of content, man. Live streams on Sunday, Monday morning, Tuesday nights. We play some video games where we talk Tennessee football. Wednesday nights at 7. Also Friday morning at 9:30. Eric Kane's going to be in the house this week. Make sure you tune in for that. Saturday, an hour before kickoff, immediately after the game, plus videos every single day. If you like it, subscribe and click that bell for notifications. Also, go check out the merch. You can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. We got all kinds of designs. We are a cult. I said we were a family. You know, We really are a cult. But nonetheless, we got shirts for every football team you love to hate. We got logo shirts. Me and Dauber running for president, vice president in 2024. You can pick that up. But again, bonfire.com/store/talkingballs. The link to that is in the description below. And if you like the fact that we're talking about Dustin and X and Coach J and Coach Rice, all the people that flood through this channel, you think, man, I would like to get on YouTube and express my opinion like these dudes are. Make sure you join the channel. That's how you get on those fan call-in shows. Hit the join button down below. $1. That's what you got to give, $1. The more you give, the quicker you get on the show, but you also get some other perks and benefits. Fan call-in show, obviously. Parity beside your name, custom Talking Balls emojis. That's the plugs and shills. I love you guys. Appreciate the way you support this channel. Let me hit some super chats real quick. Michael Davis for 5. It should be pointed out that the Aggies gave up 48 points the only time they played a tough road game this season. That is worth looking at. That Miami game. Got absolutely embarrassed against Miami. But again, we talk about Florida and how, Tennessee responds to the Florida game. Was that game kind of their response? And, yeah, I know they just got beat by Alabama. You can tell me whether it's the Alabama or old. I'll let you guys decide on that. Shot by Andrew for 2. Sup, bro? Sup, guys? GBO, ready for this weekend? What's up, brother? Appreciate that super chat. Timothy McGee for 5 says Milton needs to get the ball out quicker without taking an arm off, have more touch on the ball. We're going to talk about Joe coming up here in just a second. I think Joe is who he is at this point. I made the joke, again, spoiler alert for Locked On Vols coming on Friday. We were talking about Joe Milton. I said Joe Milton could go out. I said this, I think, the fan call-in show, too. He could go out and throw for 300 on Saturday against Texas A&M. He could throw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Joe Milton could dominate that game, and we would still be going into the Alabama game next Saturday saying, which Joe are we going to get? Because the history speaks for itself.
It's like I said earlier, body of work.
Yeah, it's who he is. It's who he is. Jet Bucket for $20. That's an Orange Boy. We got a thing around here. You guys maybe do it, so we're going to do it. You drop an Orange Boy, we'll play the clip.
Rocky Top!
Jeff for $20. Appreciate that, brother. We talked about who has A&M played that was good at running the ball, but who have we played that you would say was good at stopping the run? Kentucky ran all over Florida, so I still wonder just how good our run game really is. That's a fair comment. But all we can talk about is what we've seen, right? I can speculate. If we said, okay, we can only talk about the teams that Tennessee's really played, it's going to be real quiet around here. We're not going to have a whole lot to talk about. All we can talk about, all you can do is beat the teams you played, right? And my only argument, Jeff, to what you're saying is that Florida game, we didn't have Cooper Mays and we didn't have Gerald Mincey. And if we had Cooper Mays and we had Gerald Mincey, would that game have looked different, X?
Yes, it would have. It would have been a dub that I would have loved to have.
Yeah, Dauber, you seem like a stats guy. Does anybody know what the SEC's record is on the road this year? Because I feel like this year in particular, it's like nobody's really winning on the road other than Georgia and Bama, and they haven't really been tested too hard yet. Go ahead.
I was getting ready to say, just look at Georgia's schedule, though. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I mean, other than Alabama playing Texas A&M, that's probably been their biggest challenge to date. So, and I think this year in particular, it seems like each team, I don't want to say it looks completely different, but you're not really sure what you're getting on a lot of teams across the SEC each week. Nobody's really stuck out. So I think, it's one of those things like, we just have to focus on us. And like we said at the top of the show, like it's all about us and it's our house and how we come out and play. And we have to take advantage of these home games.
So let me go back to something I said on the fan call-in show, but you guys weren't on here. And I want to know your thoughts. Dauber, do you think, because Dustin brings up a good point. And I heard VolQuest talking about that this week too. Like how it really seems like home field advantage is playing more of a factor this year than it ever has. And a lot of times you say, okay, if it's a pick'em game, you're getting 3 points, right, for home field advantage. And that's what Tennessee's getting in this game against Texas A&M, 3.5 points. Are we seeing parity in Tennessee or in college football? Are we seeing that? 2 years, what are we, 2.5 years into the NIL era and the transfer portal, Dauber? Are we truly seeing parity? Outside of Georgia, maybe? And like X said, their schedule's been garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little bit of that. I think Tennessee has finally stepped back up a little bit. They've climbed the ladder a little bit. But But yeah, I'll say, and I'll stand behind this until the cows come home. You go on the road in conference play, it's going to be a tough game. I don't care where you're going.
Mhm.
You know, there's nothing like SEC football. You know, it's full of tradition. It's full of pride. You know, the fans of an opposing team, you go to their house, they're going to be full of piss and vinegar, and they're going to, you know, call you every name in the book. You know, you got stories of, you know, cups of urine getting thrown in Florida on opposing fan bases on their band. You know, you've got, you know, it's just, you go on the road, it is tough sledding. But here's the other thing. And, you know, we've talked about this before. The landscape of college football itself has changed so much. And you are getting away from, you know, guys that grow up being a fan of a certain team or a fan of SEC football. It's a national, you know, recruiting is at a national stage right now. So you're getting guys from the West Coast. You're getting guys from, you know, all these other states that are coming and playing, because it's you really got to be all over the country to pull in, you know, top talent. And a lot of these guys don't get these rivalries that date back in time. You know, there's no tie-in to it for them. So what does the third Saturday in October mean to some of these kids? It means a lot different than it did to, you know, Philip Fulmer, or to us who have grown up and you know, watched it and been ingrained to, you know, hate Alabama or hate Florida or hate Georgia. Mm-hmm. These kids are going out and they're playing football because that's what they do. And I think they do kind of eventually buy into, especially when you've got a coaching staff that, you know, everything you see and hear about Heupel and this team is that, you know, that brotherhood and that camaraderie. And I'm sure, you know, one thing I love is, like we talked about it earlier, bringing Eric Berry back this coming Saturday. You know, bringing back former players so those guys can, you know, talk to these guys and relate to them and tell them, hey, you know, listen, we don't lose to Vanderbilt. We don't lose to Kentucky. You know, go and tell them this is what it was like. You need to uphold a standard at Tennessee. And I think that's a little bit. I know that's kind of probably off the point, and you know, I'm way
I was
way
thinking
off.
Dauber's having church service right now.
But man, it's different, and I know that's the old SEC tagline. It just means more. It's different, but
Yeah.
it is. It is
Brought to you by the Southeastern Conference.
Well, no,
I'm with you, brother.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to what he was saying, because it goes back to, and of course I'm not trying to go back to Florida or nothing like that, but even like the Florida game, because they were talking, you know, they were asking the question like, you know, how big is it if Tennessee goes down to the Swamp and wins? You know, it's been 20 years since you guys haven't won in the, well, it's 21 now, but how's it been since you guys haven't won? And they just looking at us like, it's just another game. And I'm just like, yes, it's true, but as us fans, it's like it's misery. It's misery as us as fans to know that Florida has always came at us and say, well, you never beat us in the Swamp, da da da. So yeah, man, these kids need to know like the importance of these rivalries, you know, and yeah, and hopefully, like you said, Dauber, it'll light a fire under them and go out there and perform at a very high level.
Yeah, I think that, you know, just look at the Bama game last year, like getting that monkey off our back. How huge was that on every network? Highlights for weeks at, you know, just those fireworks going off and that awful kick and all these
the
things.
goalposts coming down.
Yeah, I mean, just all these things. So it does still mean something. My only little caveat to that is I think this year in particular, I don't know if it's just the SEC is more competitive within itself that makes us look like we're not as dominant as we were in the past, or if it's what, like Boogie said, with is NIL finally starting to show its face at your Colorados, at your Kansases, you know, places like that where, you know, you expect Tennessee to win, you expect Bama to win, you expect Texas and blue bloods like that to win. But you got the smaller guys creeping in more and more. So I wonder how that is, as far as if that's an NIL or it's just one of those years where everything is even more competitive. And my other thought was that there's a lot of great coaches in this country. There's a lot of great staffs in this country, and so and the game is different. The game is more advanced. I mean, yes, it's still a line of scrimmage game, but how many other teams are having success with maybe less talent and more about scheme? And you can maybe even throw us in that book, at least for the first year or two. And we're starting to catch up in recruiting on the back end. But there's a lot of factors that it's not as predictable as it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a different game. And like I say the same cliche thing all the time too. It's a line of scrimmage league. But then when they signed Nico, I said it's a quarterback game. And we're seeing that, right? We're seeing the difference when you have an elite-level quarterback like Hendon Hooker versus Joe Milton, who we're saying, man, could you please just manage this game? We're relying more on defense. But I think if you've got that, imagine, and I know people are sick of hearing it, imagine Hendon Hooker on this football team this year with this defense, with this running game. Are you kidding me?
Natty.
That's domination. That's domination. Maybe. I mean, I think you're definitely in the conversation for sure. Let me hit this super chat here from Andrew Garland for $2. Thank you for the super chat. It says, any update on Keenan Peely? I saw where VolQuest put out an update today, but all it's really doing is quoting Josh Heupel. So, I heard that Brew McCoy was possibly going to play on Saturday. That's the type of updates you're going to get from Josh Heupel. Here's the quote from Heupel. He's fighting his butt off to get back as soon as possible. Obviously, we feel like he's a difference maker. And then he goes on to say, we'll see where we're at here a little bit week by week. He's not ready to go in this one. We'll continue to see where he's at. So when he says we'll see where we're at week by week, I think originally they said October. That makes me wonder if we're even going to see Keenan Peely back at all this year.
Yeah, that's tough.
We were possibly going to see Cooper week 1.
Yeah. We saw how that worked out. And they said what he made his first contact UTSA week. He practiced the UTSA week, didn't feel confident to go, and then he went against South Carolina. Yeah. So, I mean, look, and I know we laugh and we make jokes, and the Brew McCoy thing came from one of you guys in the chat, and I've ran with it because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. No disrespect. Shout out Brew McCoy. Prayers, thoughts and prayers, all that good stuff. I hope he bounces back. But that's the way Josh Heupel is. You're never going to get the truth. So, you're never going to know. Like, we can speculate. We can guess, but I have no idea.
I was just going to say, was there an exact explanation of his injury? I never really heard. Was it shoulder?
I think they just said upper
body.
Right?
Okay.
That's all I heard. I never saw any specifics on it.
I gotcha. Well, and then I'll bring up another quick topic. I'm sure we'll get to it anyways. But with Brew out, how does the receiving corps respond? Are we going to see
Dante Thornton?
I hope so. He needs.
Is he healthy?
We need. Yeah.
Is he
he healthy? And even when he is healthy, what's he going to do to stick out? You know what I mean? Is he going to be that third punch that we need to spread the ball around a lot? Because I think so far, obviously the passing game in general hasn't been what we kind of expected or thought it could be. So, how does that help or hurt the game moving forward, Dauber?
I think one of the guys that maybe felt a little slighted coming into the season with all the, Dante Thornton talk is Ramel Keaton. I think you need to see him step up. And, I was pulling for the guy when Thornton announced he was transferring in. And, I think Ramel has all the talent, has, the capability of being a big play threat. You go back to the catch he made against Florida. That was a game-changing catch, big time play. But again, you're talking about it with a different quarterback. I don't know that you are going to see as dynamic of a passing offense with Joe Milton at the helm. I think I'm kind of beginning to be in that boat right now. I think you're going to try to stretch the field a couple times a game. I'd like to see it a little bit more with that arm strength. You connect on two of 5 shots for big chunk plays. That shifts the momentum. That at least flips the field. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because we all know his go-to receiver is Squirrel. That
Yeah.
is definitely his go-to receiver. So
Well,
go ahead.
just on that, we've talked about it. Who did Joe work with a lot last year?
Yeah, exactly.
The
Squirrel.
number twos.
Mm-hmm.
Where was Squirrel at? Running with the twos.
Yep.
So there's familiarity and comfort there with him. So, I think there's plenty of guys that could step up, and I'm waiting for somebody to have a breakout game.
Yeah,
Let
and
me
also
have,
go ahead.
let me have some fun here, because sometimes things fall in your lap. You get lobbed a big softball. Because Dustin, as you were talking, I was like, everybody's going to say Caleb Webb or Chaz Nimrod or Dante Thornton. That's what they're going to say. And I was like, let me go the opposite direction. I'll say Ramel Keaton, because I was just listening to Pancakes and Bacon, and they kind of said the same thing. And you said Dauber's name, and I'm like, okay, he's pitching to Dauber. Let me start digging around here, looking at numbers. Who do you think's been more productive? Because we're worried about Brew McCoy. And Dauber said Ramel Keaton needs to up his game. He felt slighted, right? He was disrespect because of Dante Thornton. Brew McCoy has 17 catches for 217. Ramel Keaton, 14 catches for 230. Brew McCoy has 1 touchdown. Ramel Keaton has 3. I would argue that Ramel Keaton has been more productive. And again, I'm on your train of thought, Dauber. I'm like, hey, Ramel Keaton, step up and take over a game. We've not seen any wide receiver on this football team take over a game outside of, you could argue, Squirrel White. But I just thought it was interesting. And look, Brew McCoy thinks he does outside of the passing game, the way he blocks, the way he's physical, his leadership. I love me some Brew McCoy. Selfishly, I hope he comes back next year and tries to improve his draft stock. That's how much I love him and want him back as a part of this football team. But for me, I want to see who steps up on that outside, and I think it's going to be Caleb Webb. I think he's going to be the first one they trot out there, opposite of Ramel Keaton, and I think he can be that guy. He can be. I just don't have the confidence that Dante Thornton's healthy. It's been the hamstring. It was the hamstring in camp. It's the hamstring now. It's something that keeps flaring back up. He's been inconsistent. He's dropped a lot of passes. I would love nothing more than to see him go out there and ball out, but I think it's Caleb Webb that you're going to have to lean on. But, Dustin, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, and you set it up for me too, like going back to camp, I hate this phrase, but they used it all off season, was Ramel Keaton was steady Eddie. He was steady Eddie all off season long. And for whatever reason, and the stats prove it, for whatever reason, he's not a household name like the other guys are. And maybe he should be. Maybe we should be talking about him more than we're talking about Thornton or even McCoy at the time. But what I think is most important, and y'all probably agree with this, is that we're going to miss Brew on the perimeter and those blocking packages. Now, do we see less of that because he's not out there? Do they trust the other guys to get those picks the way he was pulling it off, or getting those extra 2 or 3 yards? Do they steer away from those kind of calls, or is that still a big part of the game plan?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Texas A&M's game plan is, right? Because I think if they stack the box, I think you'll see a whole lot of that quick stuff. And do you get the success blocking on the perimeter without Brew? That'll be interesting. Bob, White Lightning, been a member for 3 months, says any SEC team can lose on any Saturday when playing another SEC team, bar none. It's all about preparation and follow-through and the execution on the field. GBO. Love me some Bob. He's a big part of this community. He's new here, but he's a big part of this community. Always love seeing Bob in the chat. VFL Logan for 2, about to buy some merch. Suggestions. My favorite's the State Pride shirt. It's 100%.
State Pride. Yeah, I love the State Pride. I got 2 of them.
You got 2? You got more than I have.
Yeah, I got the light gray one and I got the black one.
That's a man that has to match his wardrobe. That's why you look so clean. I just throw on a T-shirt and a hat, and I'm ready to go.
Hey, at least you got a Tennessee hat on tonight. Props to you, Boogie.
You know, it's funny. It's funny because I've been roasted so much. I was like, I'm going to wear all orange all the time. In every video this week, and everybody's commenting, Boogie's decked out in orange. He means business this week. I went with a little elite.
Yeah. Your other team lost last night and lost me some money, so I needed you to wear that App State hat tonight.
You know, we were talking about going to that game, but it just didn't work out scheduling. We would have gone if it would have been on Saturday instead of in the middle of the week. But, yeah, I was live last night because it was the NCAA stream, and everybody in the chat, it's become so so comical, so much of a bit. Everybody in the chat's like, wait a minute, you're streaming? App State's playing. And I'm like, hey, shh, don't tell anybody. I've not watched a single App State game this year. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. It's about the town, the atmosphere, the environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not look, I don't lose sleep if App State loses because I don't really know when they lose because I don't really care. But I love the town. Love Boone, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
MG Wade for 5. I think Webb's our guy. Brew McCoy was a big body that will fight for those contested balls. I agree. I think
Yeah.
Webb's going to be the first one you see out there. Red Win for 2. I think they may rely on Jacob Warren more.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting point because one of the weaknesses on this Texas A&M defense is their middle linebacker. So can you expose the middle of the field? But I do think it's kind of funny, too. Thank you guys for the Super Chats. Appreciate that. Everybody talks about A&M secondary and how they're hot garbage and they're trash. Statistically, they're pretty good. I think they're top 20, top 20, top 25, somewhere around in there. 21st, giving up 184 passing yards per game. That's pretty good.
And how do we see Castles get back into the pictures more? He's like seems to be doing all the things except for executing. You know what I mean? There's been some clutch plays that he woulda, coulda, shoulda caught the ball. I like to see him and Warren. Obviously, Warren's had more success. So how do they expand on that a little bit more? Because we know that this offense is so tight end driven in so many ways that like how do they? Somebody's calling me. What the hell? How did you hear that?
On air. Answer it. No, I didn't. Answer it
Okay.
live on air.
Anyways, it's a new computer. You know, I had to get a full new studio for this Talkin Ball setup, so I wouldn't be in the outhouse internet anymore. But yeah, that was my point. Was I think there's so much potential. I think we saw it more last year with Fant and Warren at times is how they utilize the tight ends. Not just in passing either. It could be in the run game too, and some of those short yardage situations.
Yeah, I think they got to utilize St. Castles. That's definitely in the red zone. I feel like they need to utilize them in the red zone a lot more.
Well, that's one thing that I think we have done a bit more, and I think that plays to Milton's strengths are those kind of quick hitter like a slant pass or like a curl or a little hitch, dump off running across the middle to the tight end. I think those are things that we need to be, keying in on. And I think you get Milton rolling, you get some easy passes, completions, you get that rhythm and tempo. Listen, I said it about the South Carolina game. This offense with Joe Milton at quarterback, I think they play better with Cooper Mason. They play more efficient, and there was more of a rhythm. There was more of a, I think when they get like that, get in that stride, it takes away the reliance of Joe to have to think about the game. It allows him to just play. And I think that's when he's at his best. Don't twist that. Don't get that wrong. I'm not saying, he doesn't have the intelligence to be out there and play. I think he bogs down in reading the defenses. And then he thinks, I've got to throw it quick. And I think that's where that extra juice and that, he's trying to rely on his arm strength because he's over analyzing and overthinking. So I think, the Cooper comes to the line, gets the blocking called out. They're going, and it just Joe is in the flow, and I think that's the recipe for success for this offense. And I think moving forward, I think you're going to find that they're more likely to kind of get that groove going with Cooper there, with Mincy being back, the offense at kind of full strength, and guys playing in position instead of out of position sliding over to fill a void.
Let me hit this super chat real quick, then we'll talk a little bit more about Joe Milton. Wayne Starnes for 5. Appreciate that, Wayne. Worried about the A&M defense and their front seven. Best run defense and sack leader. O-line is very important this week, in my opinion. Go Vols. Wayne, we talked a lot about that defense at the top of the show, but we can kind of segue it into Joe Milton here as Dauber's talking about where his strengths are versus his weaknesses. What if that Texas A&M defense comes and does what all the talking heads say that they're going to do? Everybody on YouTube, everybody on the internet, everybody on the radio is saying that they're going to dominate Tennessee's rushing attack. I'm disagreeing with them, and maybe I'll be proven wrong. We'll find out. But, X, what happens if they shut down Tennessee's rushing attack? And now, you go look at the Alabama game. Some of the stats, and I know I said this on the fan call-in show, but I'm going to say it again. Alabama, 4 of 12 on third downs. They had 23 rushing yards. They had 14 penalties, and they still won the game 26-20 because Jalen Milroe threw for 321 and 3 touchdowns. If Texas A&M shuts down Tennessee's rushing attack, and you've got to rely on Joe Milton to go win you a football game, do you have the confidence that he can get it done on Saturday afternoon?
I believe so, because then again, too, it's like what we were talking about earlier before. Like I said, this is home field advantage. And we've seen that this team is very successful when it comes to playing at home. And kind of going back to that Alabama and Texas A&M game, like I said, yeah, because we know that Milroe, because, it's funny, we were all talking about like, oh, well, he can't throw, this and that. Dude he's got an arm, kind of just like Joe Milton. Not saying that he's just like Joe.
He's got two.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. So,
Breaking news.
But just kind of like watching Milroe, though, it's kind of like watching Joe in a way, if that kind of makes any sense. So, but except
Richardson.
Except the thing of it was, though, Milroe, it's like what I said earlier, though, he escaped the pocket when there was pressure, and like I said, he was making plays with his feet. My question is for Joe is like, can you do that if, Texas A&M, let's say if they shut down the run and they're coming at you fast and heavy? And also, too, because like going back, like the announcers were saying that Joe Milton hasn't thrown a touchdown pass on the run. That kind of concerns me.
Let me get this super chat, and then we'll go. I want to go into predictions. That way we can wrap up and get Dustin out the door here. Trey drops a 20 spot. That's an Orange Boy. You drop an Orange Boy. We got to play the clip.
Rocky Top!
Trey says, hopefully this week we got healthy. Really want to see if Joe can get back to moving the ball with his feet again pre-injury. I think that's a huge point that you guys brought up earlier. If he can, we can be dangerous, gentlemen. We meet our goals if he can be mobile at least a little, just a little bit. Just be a little more. Keep that defense honest. All right, let's jump into predictions. Dustin's got to bounce here in just a little bit, so I want to make sure we wrap up the show, get all the predictions in. We usually do an hour to 90 minutes on these Wednesday streams. I've got a recruiting video coming in the morning. Make sure you tune in for that. I may drop 2 videos tomorrow. We'll see how I'm feeling. And then Friday morning, 9:30 a.m., myself, Coach Jay, Eric Kane from VolQuest, and Locked On Vols will be in the house. Don't forget, tailgate show an hour before kick on Saturday, and then post-game show immediately following the show. Joey says, do we get 2024 4-star running back Daniel Hill? They made some momentum, create a little momentum in that South Carolina game. I know he dropped his top 3 today, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama. We'll see. I'm saying 50-50 right now. Let's jump into our predictions. Dustin, is this your first time doing predictions? Let's
other than the fan calling show, yeah. I think
let's not be an X Factor or a Coach J. I tried to teach Coach J off of X Factor's mistakes, and I was explaining it to him, and Coach J said, "Okay, I got it, Boogie. This is right here. This is it."
And you have to not lose the game before you can ever win the game.
And I said, no, Coach, that's not accurate. That's not what we do around here. You give me a little something. You give me a little a college game day, if you will. College game day. Tennessee's got to do this. What if Texas A&M does this? Give me 2-3 minutes of a little something, and then your official prediction. What do you got, Dustin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, like I said earlier, got to start fast. We got to play a clean game. We can't have a repeat of Florida where it takes us a quarter and a half to get going. Tennessee cannot afford to get sloppy. And I think with Cade Mays back, they're going to be more solidified on the offensive line. And can the defense continue to get a push on probably our best challenge to this point? I still got us in this game. I think we have more veteran experience, and I think we have the home field advantage. So I'm going to go Tennessee for this game for sure. I'm going to predict a little bit lower score than what we might like, but I'm going to say 31-24 Tennessee.
I think a lot of people are taking the under because of the defense. X, what do you got?
All right. So it's going to be a pretty close one, but everything what Dustin just said, yeah, we can't come in off this bye week very sluggish, too relaxed. You know, you're like we always said at the beginning of the show, it's home field advantage. You got to lock it down, take advantage of it. And then it's like what I've always been saying. It's going to come down to a very defensive-heavy game, I feel like, you know, and we're going to see if we're right Saturday. So, but what I got is Tennessee 36. I'm going to say A&M 30.
I thought you said Vols by 50 or something at the beginning.
Yeah, what was the 50?
That's every game.
That's every game. Well, I did have it 42-30, but since we've been talking about it, and I'm just like
everybody talked you into
convinced
A&M's
you.
defense.
So
Yep.
Vols by 50 was Vols by 12. I was trying to do Scott Steiner math. 42 plus 30 divided by 3. If you take in the home field advantage, that's 100,000 plus, and you multiply that by 6 and divide it by Josh Heupel's winning record coming off the bye week, that's Vols by 50. That's my prediction. What do you got, Dauber? Do you want to go first? We've been stealing each other's predictions.
I'll let you go ahead and first, so you can lay it out there, and then I'll copy what you say.
Well, here's the thing: is I can't change mine because I've already pre-recorded Locked On Vols, and my Kaner put me on the spot. So my official prediction's out there. Look, I've attacked this game from every angle. Starting on Sunday when we got back into town, I went straight to work. You know, I watched the Texas A&M Alabama game while we were out of town, and then I start doing the research, looking at the numbers, looking at the stats, and then I'm listening to all the talking heads. I've looked at this from every angle possible, and everybody's talking about Texas A&M's defense, and they're disrespecting Tennessee. But the interesting part about it all is these two teams are so similar. Like their defense, their front seven, very good. Their secondary, questionable. Tennessee can run the football. I think that is a huge advantage, and that's why I think ultimately Tennessee wins this game, is because I think they're better on offense than Texas A&M is on offense. So if you've got two really good defenses going head-to-head, but one offense is better than the other, that's playing into our favor. You throw in Neyland Stadium, Checker Neyland, hostile environment. We got everything to play for, and I think that Texas A&M has got their toe in the water. They got one foot out the door, ready to just fold and pack it in and quit, because their task, if they're going to get to Atlanta, a lot of things have to happen. Whereas guess what? If Tennessee's going to get to Atlanta, all you got to do is win. Like if I'm Josh Heupel, that's what I'm telling my football team. You guys control everything. Just go win. Like block out the noise, block out all the talk. Nothing matters. That Florida game doesn't matter. Just go win. You go win every game from here on out. Do I believe it? Does X believe it? Does Dustin and Dauber? Maybe not. Probably not. I know I don't. But they better believe it in that locker room. They have everything to play for. Atlanta is still out there. It's all of your goals are still obtainable. The interesting thing is Joe Milton versus Texas A&M quarterback Max Johnson. If it comes down to that, can Joe get it done? I don't know, but I think the running game gets it done, and that's why I'm going Tennessee 34, Texas A&M 27.
You freaking kidding me?
I hope you're spot on. Did you write it down?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Hey, great minds think
So-
alike.
We're all in the same ballpark, though.
Great
Yeah.
minds think alike. I like
Um,
afterwards I question myself because I'm like, man, everybody's hammering the under, and I'm like, here goes Boogie.
Yeah.
You're going to cover and take the over.
Yeah.
Opposite of what everybody else is saying.
I was right there with you. That's why I said like 42, and I was like, no. Go under X. Go under.
So I've gone back and forth. I actually earlier today, I toyed with throwing up a loss.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, see, kick him out. Get him out of here.
Ban him.
I mean,
I'll ban him.
listen. I've done this for so many years, and I've picked with my heart, and I've picked with my orange glasses on. I've tried this year to be, partial, and when it comes to predicting the game, I think it's going to be a close game. Boogie just said these teams are so similar statistically. You defensively, A&M is on their backup quarterback. We're on a quarterback that hasn't hit his stride, that has potential. Will he reach that? One of the things I did as we were talking tonight, I went through and I just looking at the points scored for both teams each game or all season. In A&M's 6 games, they've averaged 35.5 points. Tennessee's 5 games, they've averaged 36.2 points. So that gives Tennessee the edge, barely.
Did you look at defense? Because it's just as close.
Yeah.
The numbers are almost identical.
So I think offensively this team's going to hit their stride. They're going to get some things done, but they're not going to dominate because A&M is a good team. The advantage and the edge goes to being in Knoxville. I think this team's they're going to struggle on the road. We saw that in Florida. We didn't have Cooper. We didn't have Mincy. Offense bogged down, couldn't run the ball. You look at the first half and the second half of the Florida game, night and day. You come out in the second half and you really dominate. Had you played that well in the first half, different story. But at the end of the day, your first 5 games don't matter. Little coach speak here, since we don't have Coach Jay or Coach Rice on tonight. You got to go 1-0 in the week. So,
Yes.
All the focus needs to be on A&M. You cannot look ahead to what looms the week after. It's going to be a tough game, and I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I think Tennessee has the edge, though, being in Knoxville.
Let me hit a couple of super chats real quick, and then we're going to get out the door here. Elijah Allen, the kid, for 5, says Milton has a career game, finally breaks out. Vols 34, Texas A&M 17. I would love nothing more. And then we're going to talk all week about which Joe do we get for the Alabama game. Shout out to the kid, man. That song that we used on the intro, used it last night, used it again tonight, going to continue to use it on some of these Wednesday streams, post-game streams. Elijah Allen, go check out his music. It's good stuff, man. I appreciate Elijah. The first time I played his music on air, I got a copyright strike immediately. What are you doing, Elijah? He got it cleaned up this time, though. But go check out his music. John Mills for 5. Sorry I'm late. Buddy went down in a motorcycle, had to pick up the bike. Well, I'm glad you took care of the bike and not the friend. Is he still in the ditch? Like, is he laying in the ditch and the bike's back at your place? John, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Appreciate the super chat, brother. Orange Sea Line for 20. That's an Orange Boy. I love Orange Boys because I get to play. Although I think I shot myself in the foot because nobody drops $50 anymore. It's all 20. It's always orange. Nobody wants to hear the $1 Million Man. They want to hear this.
Rocky Top!
Orange Sea Line for $20 says you look at the Vols and A&M and you can see that statement is not true. See, normally, if you go one-on-one, you got a 50-50 chance of winning, but UT's genetic freaks are not normal. So you got a 25% at best at beating them. See, Orange Sea Line, if you would have dropped a pink boy or a red boy, you could have finished that Scott Steiner math. But I appreciate your dedication to that Scott Steiner math and that $20 super chat, that Orange Boy. Oh, man, I love all you guys that understand the Steiner math jokes. They're so much fun. We're going to get out the door. Dustin, you want to do a little plug on the way out. What do you got to say, buddy?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to say thanks for including me in these podcasts and on the live chats and everything, man. It's a blast. So anybody that's out there listening, if you're a Tennessee fan, engage with this channel, man. It's the best platform out there. It's going to give you consistent fixes on Tennessee football and, all across the board. It's going to keep you informed. Killer merch. Just a fun group of guys to be around, like Dauber always says, like Boogie always says, we're not experts, but we are passionate about this team, and we love talking ball. And so I just want to thank you guys, man. It's been super, super fun. I've been listening to this channel for going on, I think, almost 3 years now. So I'm an OG, and it's nice that we can get different perspectives, and you plug in the other guys' music and stuff like that. Like, it's a family, it's a community, and I'm happy to be a part of it, man. I appreciate y'all.
I love it, man. Every time you come on, you were so good. I was like, Dustin is so good. He's well spoken. He knows what he's talking about. His internet is in an outhouse. we got to fix that.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was there before too, bro. It's okay.
Yeah.
I was there before too.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not telling anybody you got to go out and buy a gaming PC or spend a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But we can't do the Wednesday show and the post game shows without clean internet.
I knew I had to. Like my older laptop has all my recordings on it and music and stuff like that. So I've just stuck with it, right? Because it's never, crashed on me, knock on wood. But and like the first time I get on the live chat, Boogie goes ape shit over. he goes buck wild. He was like, okay, I've seen Boogie piss now right off the bat. Cool, good to know.
Yeah. South Carolina game was a bad, and I messaged you immediately after. I was like, that's not normal. I've had a rough week. I lashed out. We're gonna dial things back in. I was like, you were the first one I was worried about, because I was like, everybody else on here has seen me lose my cool multiple times. Like, it happens, right? We're all human, right? I tweeted out
Passionate.
a thing. I tweeted out a thing yesterday. Chell Sonnen put it out, and I was like, this is so spot on. Don't judge my personality based on, like, there's a difference between personality is who I am. My attitude is who you are. And I was like, that's spot on. Like, I'm as chill as they come. Like, I'm easygoing. A lot of people that hate me in the chat or the comments or whatever, like, if you met me face to face, we had a beer together, you'd be like, this is a cool dude, man. He's laid back, he's chill. But if you come against me or my family, and by family I'm talking, well, my real family, but you come against my guys, you come against Dauber, you come against X, you come against Coach J, guess what? I'm going to bat for my guys. These are my guys, and I'm always going to be true to that. Andrew for 2 says, I've been here since Georgia State. You know how many people have said that? So many people, that was their first live stream ever, and I had to make JP do it because he was not having it. Boys, it's been a fun one. We're an hour and a half into this thing. Again, don't forget to tune in Friday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Myself, Coach Jay will be joined by Eric Kane for about 30 minutes to kick off that show. It's going to be a good time. But for the X Factor, for Captain D, for Dauber, my name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. You know what? I'm going to play the kids' music on the way out the door again. Where is it?
Get them residuals.
I'm going to play the full song. I'm going to play the full song on the way out the door. You like it? Go check out Elijah Cole Allen anywhere you get your music. Go Big Orange.
I was driving down the highway on an August Friday night. Everything was going great. I was feeling fine till I looked into my rear view. Caught me by surprise. It was Barney and his partner. They're flashing their blue lights. Now I'm sitting in the pen and I'm staring at the floor. They done took my freedom. I can't walk around no more. And I said goodbye to the honky tonks and my social good time. All because I blew a .09. Well, cop turned me around, he said, I'm taking you to jail. Do you have someone in mind that can come pay your bill? I said, no sir, most of my friends are pretty damn broke. Then he slapped those cuffs up on me and Barney slammed the door. Now I'm sitting in a pen and I'm staring at the floor. They done took my freedom, I can't walk around no more. And I said goodbye to the honky tonks, my social good time. All because I blew .09. walked into the courtroom. The judge says, what do you say? I said, don't throw the book at me, just let me explain. I wasn't drunk, I've been drinking. Won't you do me a favor and knock her on down to 0.07? Yeah, I didn't go too well. Now I'm sitting at the house and I'm staring at the floor. They done took my license, I can't drive around no more. Say goodbye to the honky tonks and my social good time, all because I blew 0.09. I said all because I blew 0.09. Don't you drink and drive.